right, heroes. It is I, your friendly neighborhood Rabbi John Carrier, and I am here today to bring you the Jew Curious Show. This is a show where people who are curious about Judaism can ask questions, give thoughts, talk to each other, anything that's on your mind about Jewish people or Judaism, and love to answer your questions. I'm a rabbi here in Southern California, and in a minute we're going to be playing a little bit of Mario Kart, going back to our roots for a game that we played in the beginning of when we started live streaming games. This is Fun Friday here on the Jew Curious Show, which means you can ask your questions in the chat on Twitch or on YouTube, in the comments on Facebook. We are multicasting here, so whatever platform you're seeing us on, please ask what questions you have. Say hi to me, say hi to your friends. We usually have a good group of people here coming from all over the place, so feel free to join in the conversation. And I see KG Wilcox says Boker Tov, Boker or KG Wilcox, nice to see you. So we're about to take a little musical break, and then we are going to get right into it with Ask Me Anything here on the Jew Curious Show. Play a little Mario Kart today, and really glad to know you. So thank you for being here. We're going to take a little musical break while I take a sip of the Move juice, a little bit of coffee, and then we will get started. Alrighty then, heroes, we are about to get underway. Another Fun Friday episode of the Jew Curious Show. What is this show about? If you're asking yourself this question, let me tell you that if you are curious about Judaism, you are in the right place. This could mean you are, let's say, thinking of converting to Judaism, or just taking an intro to different religions class and you want to know what Judaism's all about. You might be Jewish your whole life, but it's been a while since you've been back to the synagogue. Maybe you had your bar mitzvah and decided to peace out for a while, and you're coming back and you're wondering, like, what's all this in my tradition that I have access to, but I don't know what's going on when I go to the synagogue. So if you have that question, you are in the right place. I'll say maybe you are a person of a different religion and you're really happy with that, but you want to know the Hebrew roots of your own faith. In any case, you are in the right place. I'm here to answer whatever questions you have. My name's John. I've been a rabbi in Southern California for, let's say, going on 5.5, 6 years now. So I'm happy to answer whatever questions you have because, look, I had myself a lot of questions, and people were very generous with me, and so now I'm just paying it forward. So let's see. KG Wilcox is already asking: Is Maser tithing commonly practiced in Judaism, or is it a denominational thing, or is it a thing at all? I've never heard a tithing sermon from a rabbi. Appeals, yes, but not tithing. Excellent question. We'll get to that in just a second. I think it's only fair that you see my face. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Oh, there it is. There's my face. Sorry about that, guys. So glad to see you here. So tithing, you know what? We see a lot of talk about tithing, and as KG Wilcox says, never heard a tithing sermon. we don't talk a lot. I'm just going to be real here with you for a second. We don't talk a lot about tithing in the Jewish community. That's a word you hear more in certain Christian churches. I've heard about it. We took in rabbinical school. We took a field trip, I'll say, to Pastor Rick Warren's church, to Saddleback Church in Orange County. And in that church and in some other churches, there is this. Excuse me. Sorry, my allergies are acting up this morning. I don't know I think I took my allergy pill. I usually take that right when I wake up. So in many Christian churches, they talk about tithing because it's mentioned in the Torah that you should give 10% of your income to some sort of holy purpose. And if you want to give more, that's fine, and we'll talk about kind of the limits on that for in a second. I'm sorry, just seeing a really great question from T-Fox RPG here. We'll get to that in a moment. So there are churches that tithe based on biblical principles. There aren't, we don't talk so much about tithing in the Jewish community. However, there are some synagogues that, have a model of, let's say, pledge a certain percentage of your income to the synagogue. And it's not, let's say, enforced as much as it was. I mean, tithing was specifically a practice when the temple was standing, and it's been almost 2,000 years since the temple was standing. We do have a strong principle of supporting the community. We do have a strong principle of giving tzedakah, of giving, and the nearest English translation is charity, although the English word charity and its Christian connotations is very different from the idea of tzedakah, which is another kind of donating money. But the word tzedakah is not based on charity or caritas in Latin. It's based on the Hebrew root tzedek, which means justice. It's not just like you're doing a nice thing for someone. It is just to take something of what you have and give it to someone else. That makes a more just and wholesome society if people are sharing with one another, right? It's the right thing to do, not just the kind thing to do. And so we don't talk so much in synagogues about tithing. I do know synagogues that say, you should donate in proportion to your income, which sounds like tithing, but tithing is not much of a thing, let's say, in Jewish communities. I'm not saying it shouldn't be, but it was specifically related to practices at the time that the temple was standing and the Kohanim were making sacrifices, etc. And so because we haven't been doing that in a few thousand years, that we don't talk about it like tithing. And tithe is, I'm going to say, more a Christian word, if it were. So thank you for that great question. Nevertheless, there is this notion that you should give some proportion of your income, of your excess, whatever you have, to help someone else. What I do love about the Jewish tradition is this idea that you have this obligation, this encouragement to give, at least 10% of what you have. But there's a maximum on that, in the sense that you should give 10%, but not more than 20, right? You can give 10% and above, but not more than 20%. The reason for this is twofold. Like, first off, you shouldn't feel out of religious zeal that you should give more than you're capable of giving. Right? You should enjoy the fruits of your labor. You should be able to take advantage of the work that you've done, the decisions you've made, the luck that you've had, etc. You should be able to enjoy that, right? And don't feel like if you're not giving every little bit to charity that you should feel bad about that. You should enjoy what you've done. And you should not feel compelled to give beyond your means, right? If going above 20% is going to hurt you, then you shouldn't feel obligated to give above that, because that may push you into the edge, or push you over the edge to be dependent upon charity, right? There's a strong notion that we should give. There's an equally strong notion that we should not depend on the largesse of others, right? And the concern that the rabbis had was, okay, give 10%. If you want to give more, that's fine, but don't give more than 20%. Set that aside. Because if you give too much and you don't set anything aside, in a bad time, you may find yourself dependent on others. You may find yourself dependent upon the community, and you shouldn't put yourself in that position. So that's why we say, 10% is a good number. 20% is the maximum. Other than that, don't give beyond 20% of your net income, because you may find yourself then having to take advantage of that. And the Jewish tradition is such that it's like, don't put yourself kind of at the mercy of needing charity. So I hope that helps answer your question, KG Wilcox. The idea is that, yes, tithing is a thing. Yes, there are communities that say you should give to the synagogue or to other things a certain in proportion to what you have or what you're bringing in. But we don't talk about tithing in the same way that Christian communities talk about tithing, which I think is interesting. So thank you for that question. We've got T Fox RPG asks a great question. If there's no other important stuff, and there's always important stuff, but still, I think your question is valid. If there's no other important stuff, what's your favorite thing with latkes? Sour cream, applesauce, or something else? Thank you for that question. This is Hanukkah season coming upon us. Let's see. Nawa64 says, Shalom, everyone. Good to see you here. Lee Tao Reo, Shalom, Nawas, and everyone. Good to see you here. This is a new person I haven't seen before, so nice to see you here. My favorite thing with latkes. I'm more in the savory camp when it comes to latkes. I like the sour cream. I like the ketchup. It's fried potatoes. Ketchup just goes. I like hot sauce. I'm a big hot sauce fan, so I like all of those things. But I also like a little bit of a little bit of the applesauce. That's a good thing too. So, with potatoes are a good substrate for anything. You can have sweet stuff. You can have savory stuff. I'm more in the savory camp these days. I've done a lot to cut excess sugar out of my diet. This is me kind of in a Maimonidean way, kind of bending back the other way. I have a sweet tooth, to be sure. When it comes to latkes, though, I'm a savory guy. When we have latkes with sour cream, ketchup, let's say hot sauce, things like that, that's more my preference. So thanks for asking that great question. Let's see. T-Fox RPG says, ooh, hadn't thought of hot sauce. I saw talk of sort of eggs Benedict, but with latkes instead of English muffins. I love that. Like my wife, I'll say, makes poached eggs every single Sunday. I am a big poached egg fan. Eggs Benedict, not so much, because there's like a ham thing going on there. But man, if you eggs Florentine, I love it. Like anything with hollandaise sauce or béarnaise sauce, which is kind of related to that, I'm in. But so every week when my wife gets home from the gym on Sunday morning, she makes poached eggs, and we decide what's our kind of holder for poached eggs. And I think latkes with poached eggs and some kind of sauce, that is the pinnacle of latke evolution. Even though latkes, because Hanukkah is more a nighttime thing, you don't often think of latkes with poached eggs at night. Nevertheless, the thing is, latkes don't keep so well. Whatever form you're making latkes in, if you're making them at night or if you're eating them at night, latkes are like any other potato product. They're not great. They're not as good left over. But if you have leftover latkes and you can put a couple of poached eggs on there and a little bit of béarnaise sauce or hot sauce or what have you, I think that's a treat. So KG Wilcox says, I'm gaining weight just listening to your latke stories. I'm sorry, I love a good latke. And I mentioned in another context, like latkes, yes, latkes, if you don't know what we're talking about, latkes are these potato pancakes that are traditional for the holiday of Hanukkah that's coming up. And I have different ways in which I make latkes. Latkes, I love to make them from scratch. I love to get a bag of potatoes and wash them and skin them and shred them. I found that, you put them through a Cuisinart shredder like twice is good. You put them through once, they're sort of these long stringy things. You take that stringy mess and you put it through again. That is the best for making latkes from scratch. And I shared that in the Jew Curious school. This is a school that we learned together in. That usually, like the first night of Hanukkah, when I've got the greatest zeal, I will make latkes from scratch. I will wash the potatoes, skin the potatoes, shred the potatoes, fry them up with egg and matzah meal or whatever you use to bind it. The second night, I'm over it. like that was so much work to make latkes that the second night I usually make the Manischewitz box mix of latkes. And I know some people quail at the idea of like a ready-made box mix, but I think the Manischewitz company, their wine I can take or leave. Like their wine, it's like, yes, it's fun, but I already had cough syrup earlier. So however, I'm all in for the Manischewitz company's box mixes for two things. Matzo balls, makes a great matzo ball, and latkes. And so it's basically like a little packet of dehydrated potatoes that you add oil and egg to. And so the second night, I'm making box mix latkes. The third night, I've gotten even lazier. But, hashtag sorry not sorry. The third night through the 8th, I'm all about the Trader Joe's latkes in the freezer section. Right? You go to the freezer section, you buy a box of latkes, you pop them in the oven, and they're done. And they are delicious. And you put sour cream and applesauce and ketchup and hot sauce, not all at the same time, unless, you do you. But so the first night I'll make them from scratch. The second night I'll make them, but from box mix. The third night I'm just taking frozen ones and popping them in the oven because that's the easiest way to get done and get latkes to your family. So that's my latke philosophy, if you will. Latkes. It's interesting that latkes made from potatoes was not a thing for most of the history of Hanukkah. Right? Hanukkah is a holiday that's about 2,000 years old, give or take. It's based on an event that occurred around 167 BCE, before the Common Era. So about, let's say, whatever 2,000 plus 19 plus 167 is. That's when the event that engendered Hanukkah happened. But latkes haven't been a part of that for that whole time, which is why I chafe at the storybook that comes with the mensch on the bench. So don't get me started with the mensch on the bench. Several years ago, somebody wrote a book called The Elf on the Shelf, which was a great way to sell a book plus a stuffed animal. This little stuffed elf that, there was a book about the elf on the shelf, and then there was a little stuffed elf, and you can put it different places. And then a few years after that, we had a Jewish version called The Mensch on the Bench. Mensch is a Jewish word for just like a good person. And it's a little stuffed character that's like from Yid. It's like a Hasid, this guy with a suit and a hat and a beard. And it's sort of the Jewish version of the Elf on the Shelf, which I think already is a kind of cultural appropriation, if you will. And then in the storybook that comes with it, the Mensch on the Bench talks about this Chabadnik going back and being with the Maccabees, being with the Jewish rebel army that fought against the Seleucids in 167 BCE, and he's like frying up latkes for them, and it's very anachronistic. And the fact is, like, latkes with potatoes weren't a thing until a couple of hundred years ago. Before, latkes were a dairy product. The traditional latke was a more like a ricotta pancake. It was a pancake made of dairy products. And I learned recently that is based on Sefer Yehudit. It's like the Book of Judith, where Judith is fighting with this Hellenized or Greek army, and she makes up cakes of cheese, which is a little bit like, if you've ever had ricotta pancakes, it's kind of like that. So she makes up these ricotta pancakes for him, which makes him sleepy, but they're salty, so it also makes him thirsty. And she gives him wine. This is the Greek general Holofernes, and she makes him these pancakes that are salty out of dairy products. And he gets thirsty, so she gives him wine, and the wine makes him fall asleep, and then she kills him. And that's where latkes come from. And some people say Sefer Yehudit happened at the same time as the books of the Maccabees. Some people say that, historically these were hundreds of years apart. Nevertheless, that's where latkes came from, is the book of Judith, which is an apocryphal book in the sense that it's not in the Tanakh. It's not in the Jewish canon. Nevertheless, it's a legit Judith book. It's a legit Jewish book. It's just not in the Tanakh. Because it happened later, it was probably written in a different language, etc. So, let's see. Okay, Dixie, thank you. Anachronistic means out of historical place and time. Example: a cowboy wearing a digital watch. Thank you for that. That's why I wear only analog watches. So that's where latkes come from. They come from apparently the book of Judith. There's something that's fried in oil, which is connected to the miracle of Hanukkah. We have things on Hanukkah that are fried in oil, like latkes and sufganiyot, which are donuts that are fried in oil. And for many, many centuries, for most of Hanukkah, that was a dairy product, or it was made of different vegetables. A couple of hundred years ago, when there were a lot of Jews in the Ukraine, Poland area, there was a crop failure, and that led to the mass shift toward planting potatoes, right? Because Ukraine is sort of the European breadbasket, if you will. It's in the news a lot lately for various reasons, but Ukraine is the great growing area. It's like the Nebraska of Europe, if you will. And so in Ukraine, they had a crop failure. It was devastating for the Jewish community. So people in general started planting potatoes, which were more sturdy when it came to bad weather. And so once potatoes became a staple of the Jewish diet, then people started making latkes out of potatoes. And that's why we have these potato pancakes today. So let's see. T Fox RPG says, I should find a recipe for that because my wife would love cheese pancakes. So there's lots of things out there. Just Google ricotta pancakes, and you'll find some things on that. I mean, I've variously experimented with like the paleo or keto diet and things like that eliminate carbohydrates, and so ricotta is a good substitute. So let's see what other questions are going on. I'm going to check the multi-chat just because we are live on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch all at the same time. T-Fox says there are frozen latkes. Ugh, that makes me so sad. We definitely don't have that in the Netherlands. So yes, I know. Like when I say I like the Trader Joe's frozen latkes, I get dirty looks at the synagogue. People say, "Ugh, you can't be having frozen latkes. You have to make them from scratch." But I'm like, I have, 2 little kids and a job. So if I want to make frozen latkes, I'll make frozen latkes. Let's see. G-Curious is now live. Lee Tario is on YouTube. Good to see you here, Lee. Seen a number of different people here today, or people that I haven't seen before, which is great. KG Wilcox is coming in from Philadelphia. Wherever you are, I'm happy you're here. If you don't want to chat, that's cool. If you want to lurk. you do you. But if you want to let us know where you're coming in from, that'd be great. So we got Teacher Fox RPG, KG Wilcox is in the house, and I saw Kay Dixie here as well. And Nawa64 coming in from Colorado, and Yermolovitz is here. Hi everyone. Yeah, we do a lot of potatoes, both Poland and Ukraine. Latkes are very popular here with sour cream, and some people even add sugar to cream as a dessert. Yes, I mean with potatoes, you can pretty much go any direction. You can make sweet things, you can make savory things. You do you. Me personally, I'm sort of ebbing off of my sweet tooth, and so I'm going the savory route, but that's okay too. So KG Wilcox says, still a question is a question. That's fine. All right, Lee Tai Ryu says, yeah, I was on YouTube, my phone, but switched to Twitch later. Internet weirdness. I will say weirdness is a thing on the internet. So with that, I am going to shift gears a little bit. Here on Fun Friday, we like to play video games. I started this show where we would do one show during the week, and then on Fridays we do video games. My schedule's gotten a little bit hinky, and so for the most part, we just do one show a week, and that is going to be on Fridays. But for Fun Fridays, we like to play some video games. That's what makes it fun. So, and also because I discovered the Twitch platform for live streaming, which, in my opinion, in my time and place, for my equipment, Twitch is the best solution for live streaming. Speaker AJ is here, says Shabbat Shalom, good to see you. So with that, let us go ahead and switch to Mario Kart. Where are we? Right there. Okay, here we are. So we're going to play a little Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. D. Willexen says Shabbat Shalom. Speaker AJ, good to see you here. D. Willexen, you and I will chat later. All right, cool. So KG Wilcox says Shabbat Shalom to Speaker AJ as well. I will say this is the nicest online community that I have ever been a part of. Right. Sometimes when you go online, you meet people who are nice, and sometimes when you go online, you meet people who are not nice. Not going to say any more about that. But this place is full of nice people. If you're not nice, I am quick on the banhammer. I'll put it that way. Like the banhammer, I learned that from Shane Sams. Like if you're in an online community and you're making trouble for people, you're being insulting, you're being disrespectful, kazow, you get banned. And I just bring down the hammer on that. So in any case, and people say, oh, that's censorship. No, it's it's just maintaining a nice community. So if you're nice, you're welcome. And this is the nicest community that I know. People being supportive of one another, saying hello. So feel free to let your freak flag fly in the Jew Curious show, because everybody's going to take care of you here. All right, so let's play a little bit of Mario Kart. Speaker AJ says, any trolls get an Alaka Snap from the Rabbi. Alaka Snap. That's right. So Speaker AJ says, this is really the nicest group. I love everyone here. Man, that's really cool to hear. I'm glad we put together something that I think is pretty dope. So Grand Prix. Let's play 100cc. Make it challenging. I always go with, you got to be yourself, people. So I always go with the amiibo of me. There we go. I got glasses on. See that? That guy's hair is a little bit cooler than mine. What is this? This is a new kind of thing. The B-Dasher. Okay. Because that is in the offering, I will take it. Monster tires on that. Let's see. That looks kind of cool. Alright, let's see how this goes. So, we haven't played Mario Kart in a while. Last time we were playing Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle. I actually solved... I'm sorry guys. While you were doing other things, I had the flu. I had a lot of time in my hands because I had the flu. Couldn't really go to work or do anything else. So I played a little bit of video games. And I went ahead and finished the campaign mode for Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle. So let's just get back into a little bit of racing. Oh man, I like this one. Let's go with this. Cloud Top Cruise, Dry Bones Dunes, Bowser's Castle, Rainbow Road. Can't go wrong. See, Lee Tai Ryu. This is hard for me to say. Says, I've listened to about half the podcast episodes, but never had a chance to listen live. Always seems like a great community. Yes, very nice to have you here. Thanks, Lee Tai Ryu from KG Wilcox. So I'll go back to the multi-chat, make sure I don't miss anything that's coming in on Facebook or YouTube. It has been a minute since I've played Mario Kart, which might become evident soon. I literally forgot all the controls. Whoop! Third place. I ran into that lightning. Don't want to run into the lightning. A little cloud rescue there. I'm firmly in third place. Oh, hit a banana peel right out of the gate and jump. So, yes, it has been a while since I played Mario Kart. I basically forgot how to do it, so bear with me. If you have a question, I would suggest posting that question with a question mark. It is easier for me to see in the chat if there's a question mark associated with it. And ask whatever you like about Judaism, about Jewish people, about our traditions, philosophy, history, etc. I am here for you. Alright, second place. Got that lady. Oh, first place! Just gotta maintain my edge. Oh, who hit me with lightning? That's not cool. Alright, coin and green shell. Let's see, Speaker AJ is here. Talking about chanting Torah, I think. We'll check that in a second. Oh, banana peel. Keep ahead, keep ahead. Got the ink in the face. Oh, missed that mushroom. Would have been handy to stay in first place. But I like my lead here. Got to stay ahead of whoever's behind me. Whoop! Kind of asking for that lightning hitting. Boosh! How like a snap. Throw that shell back there in case anybody's gaining on me. And here we go, coming into the finish, and boosh! All right, so check the chat here real quick. Speaker AJ says, oh, I chanted Torah for the first time out for Rosh Chodesh on Thanksgiving. It was exhilarating. That's awesome. Rosh Chodesh is a good chant to know because Rosh Chodesh is the same every Rosh Chodesh. So Rosh Chodesh means the new month, and we do different readings on the new month. But once you know Rosh Chodesh, you know it, and you could do it every time of year that they're doing Rosh Chodesh. So excellent thing to know. It was exhilarating. I've been leading Mariv on a semi-regular basis, which has been amazing. I used to sing when I was a kid, and it's like that found its way back into my life conveniently through Jewish studies. So, Speaker AJ, I am totally with you. Like I In high school, I was a choir kid. It turns out I have a little bit of an ear for music. I can, which doesn't mean I'm a musician. It means I can match pitch, but that's about it. When I was in high school, my piano teacher said, "Oh, you should come out for the choir," and I said, "I don't want to do choir," and she said, "But if you do choir, you can go on our choir trip." And we had a great field trip for choir planned. So I got into choir. So I did choir, I did musical theater and things like that. I did a lot of singing in public. And now that I am a rabbi and I'm working in a synagogue, I get to do that as a part of Holy Service, which is great. So good on you. Like, you bring all your talents to, like, whatever your talents are, you can bring them to the Jewish community, whether that's singing, whether that's writing, whether that's cooking, whether that is, stacking chairs. That's a very needed skill, stacking chairs and unstacking chairs. So it's great that you had that talent for singing, and now you can bring it to something that means a lot to you. So I'm really glad to see that happening. So KG Wilcox has a great link here. Looks like a latke recipe or a latkatini. What is a latkatini? Maybe I'm guessing potato vodka is involved. Let's see. That's recipe for latkatini, a drink you didn't know you needed. Okay, thank you for that. Speaker AJ says, I have a question. Could you explain the idea behind the repetition of the Amidah? Sometimes we do it and sometimes we don't. What's the whole origin of it, and why does it appear to be optional? And so, good question. The idea of repeating the Amidah. So the Amidah, as near as I can figure, and I take this from Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan, who's got some great work on Jewish meditation. He's got a book called Jewish Meditation and some other works as well. The Amidah originated as a private meditation in the context of a public prayer service. So the word Amidah means standing. So it would be in the middle of the prayer service. People would stand up, and the whole, sometimes you've heard of the silent Amidah. It's not so much silent as it is private. As the law codes tell you, like, how to do the Amidah, you should say the words, not silently, but quietly, so that you could hear them, but nobody else can. If you could just sort of as they call it, a stage whisper, if you will. And so the idea is that the Amidah originated, we have this prayer service that contains the Shema, that contains this declaration of belief in the unitary nature of God. And following that, and some accompanying blessings, we have the Amidah, which is a moment for silent or, if not silent, at least private meditation. It was intended to be improvisational. It was intended to be spontaneous prayer of praise, thanksgiving, supplication, what have you. Whatever you had to say to God, that's what the Amidah was for. And so over the course of years, the rabbis added different things. Like, okay, if you don't know what to pray for this. Pray for crops, pray for health for other people. And if you're approaching God, you should approach God like entering the presence of a king. You take 3 steps back, you take 3 steps forward. You don't really petition on your own merit. You say, like, look, I'm nothing. I'm garnished. Oh, sorry, I always say that word wrong. I'm garnished. Like, I'm nothing. Like, I have no standing petitioning God for anything. However, my ancestors were your friends. Like, so we start the Amidah. We bless God who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. And based on their merit, not on mine, but because of the covenant you have with them, I'm here today to say these prayers. And then you get into some praying. And it's different on Shabbat than it is on weekdays, for example. But there's this custom of sort of private prayer time that is then repeated out loud. And the out loud repetition is sort of for the sake of people who don't know how to pray. And I'm going to say, like, prayer is a thing that you cultivate. Not everybody comes into the space with the same relationship with God, the same belief or understanding of God. And there are those who cannot pray, who can't articulate what they have to say. And so for their sake, the Shaliach Tzibor, the leader of prayer, will repeat the Amidah out loud, right? for me, this is a matter of inclusion, right? First off, you have the opportunity to pray whatever is in your heart to God. But if you don't even know how to do that, we're here for you to say this prayer out loud. And you just say Amen to all the blessings that we say. And it's as if you had prayed this prayer. So that's my understanding of the source of the repetition of the Amidah. The Amidah started as a private, spontaneous prayer, later became sort of scripted for the sake of those who didn't know what to say. And after that, became repeated out loud for the sake of those, even with the script. Maybe you don't know Hebrew. Maybe you don't know how to make those sounds. And so this is a way to make sure that everybody gets a chance to pray in a holy way, whether they know the language, whether they know or have the courage or the give themselves permission to say those prayers out loud. We want to make sure that everybody is included. And that's the essence of the repetition of the Amidah for me. In some communities, they'll do what's called a Heich Kedusha, where we'll start saying it out loud together, and then we'll do the rest of it silently. That's what we often do at the community that I'm in Pasadena. So, so you'll notice in some communities you'll have a long silent prayer, and then you'll have a full repetition. In some places, you'll start together, and then it'll be silent time. And the latter is more what we do in Pasadena. So these are all different ways to make sure that you have an opportunity, that you have a moment to say to God whatever it is you have to say to God. So I think it's my favorite part of the prayer service, and it's I could go on and on, but I won't. So let's see what else is here. We've got lacatini recipes. So a couple of pretzel rocks things. Let's get on to the next race. If you're just joining us, this is the Jew Curious Show. This is a place where we answer questions about Judaism, about Jews, about Jewish practice, while having a little fun. We're going to play some video games while we do that. Because it's Friday, and why the heck not? All right, Bone Dry Dunes. I actually really like this course. Okay. Boop. It's coming back to me. Controls for Mario Kart. Whoosh! She missed that banana peel. Third. Alright, got it. Boosh, doosh, kadoosh. Got the upper level there, upper hand. Ghost took my bomb. Oh, lightning! Third place. I'll get you. Alright, first place finally. Oh man, green shell! Spoke too soon. Narg! Coin. Coin means nothing to me. Oh, she's got the upper hand over there. Take that, red shelled. Red shell behind me. Alright, first place going into the third lap. A little drifting there. double. It's going to be a coin banana. Watch this. Oh, got bitten. Yep, coin banana. Coin banana. Mario Kart is a very progressive game in the sense that the further back you are, the better bonuses you get. But if you're in the front, you don't get very good bonuses at all. So it helps level the playing field a little bit. All right, do I have anybody right behind me? Doesn't look like I do. Aha, get rid of that guy. And coming in first. All right, we see somebody here. I haven't seen you before. Let's see. Sefixki. Any advice on getting over the embarrassment of doing the daily prayers? I am coming out of a pretty bad atheist phase and no experience with verbal prayer other than Catholic step relatives forcing me to lead. I know there might not be an easy answer for that, but something that I've struggled with. So you're correct. Nice to see you here. First of all, I haven't seen you before, so I'm really happy you're here with us. And you're correct. The answer is not easy, but it is simple, and that is just keep showing up. And any advice on getting over the embarrassment? So I think the only way to get over the embarrassment, and so I'm guessing that embarrassment is coming from a place of, everybody else here knows what they're doing and I don't. So first of all, that's almost never true. This gets into kind of a hobby horse for me of participating in Jewish communities and things like that. My greatest heartbreak about participating in prayer is people coming to the synagogue, which is a place they should feel safe, they should feel native, and they feel foreign. And they come in and they're like, I'm really nervous about this, and everybody else seems to know what they're doing, and I'm the only one who doesn't. And I will say from experience that is almost always never true. Everybody there is at a different place, and people who seem confident, you just can't see how they're trembling on the inside. And so what I would say is keep showing up in those prayer spaces, and you will learn by practice, by osmosis, however you see it, you will increasingly get more competent. And as you get more competent, as you feel more comfortable with the things that you're doing, you will feel more confident. That is, you will question less, whether you belong there, whether you're doing things right. Just keep showing up. And probably the most popular video I have on YouTube is a video called I Don't Get It. Like walking into a synagogue and what do I do? The best answer, it's not easy, but I hope it's simple. The best answer is to just keep showing up, keep putting yourself in those places, and by weekly or daily repetition, whatever your cadence is, you will gradually get more competent, and that will make you feel more confident, and you will no longer be embarrassed by how it is you're praying. So I'd like to say don't be embarrassed. It's not about you in comparison to anybody else. It's a moment between you and God. And if you're not praying 100% what's out of the prayer book, God is patient, and you will get there, and God will be there when you feel like you arrive, and that'll be okay. But in any case, if you feel embarrassed about prayer, if you feel embarrassed about your facility with prayer, I can't take that away from you. I'd like to say don't be embarrassed, but you'll probably be embarrassed anyway. But I will say keep showing up, and that embarrassment will fade. And I know that because that's how it was for me, and how it was for a number of people that I know, that if you just keep showing up, you will feel better, and you will be gradually less embarrassed. Again, I would like to say don't be embarrassed. It's way more coming from you than anybody else's expectations on you. In my experience, if you're going to a synagogue space to pray, they're just happy you're there. They're happy you're there, making minyan, showing up for everybody else. They're already proud of you. But I know that's hard to perceive sometimes. So just keep showing up, and you will be able to let go of that feeling of embarrassment eventually. That's the simple, if not easy, answer for that. So thanks for asking a great question. Really glad you're here. Let's see. Your Malwood says, "Hi, Sipitsky. Great to see you here. You can't be more embarrassed than me." So we're not having an embarrassment contest, but I know exactly what you're saying. So a lot of people have been where you are. So just take some strength and courage from that. Speaker AJ says, "Definitely for me too. I actually went to an Orthodox Shacharit service this morning prayers, and felt lost at times because I wasn't familiar with the Siddur they're using. Like whenever you put yourself in a new situation." They're going to be, you're going to bump up against barriers. There was a synagogue I went to, 20 some years ago. Holy monkeys. No, not that long, see, but 2002, so maybe 17 years ago, where I like to say about this synagogue that most of the people there, came on the same bus from the same retirement home, right? It was an older crowd and mostly native Russian speakers, and they would call page numbers in Yiddish. I kid you not. So many people were davening out of a prayer book that was Hebrew on one side and Russian on the other, and the president of the congregation would call page numbers in Yiddish for people. So if you want to feel lost, that's a great place to do. Also, one of the warmest, most welcoming congregations I've ever been a part of. It was just very unfamiliar to me when I started going there, but it was across the street from my house. Like, what other synagogue am I going to go to? So, excellent. Thank you, everybody, for being so supportive in this community. Let's go on to the next race. A little sip of the Move juice. Sorry, I'm a little scattered this morning. It has been a week. I was up very late last night. I went and had... I don't know if you're watching, dude, but I don't know if Belmar is watching. I had lunch last night I had dinner with Joe Yeager and his partner Amy. And Joe Yeager was a high school classmate of mine. So a good friend of mine from high school was in Los Angeles, and we went out to dinner. I feel like I see this guy. I mean, we talk slightly more often than this, but I see this guy approximately every 10 years. And it's been, I'll say, 26 years since I've been in high school. And one of my best friends from high school, Joe, was in town in Los Angeles yesterday, and we hung out. And it was just, highlight of my week, certainly, at least. And he's going to punch that thing, and here I'm going to, miss the fist. Always good to miss the fists. But so up late last night, hanging out with my buddy Joe and Amy, and we had a magnificent time. And it's good to catch up. It's good to see how people have grown. This guy, if you've ever heard the expression "well preserved," I was commenting to somebody that they posted a picture on Facebook, and folks said "Isn't it weird that Joe looks like he hasn't aged a bit?" And some people have conjectured that he might in fact be a vampire. I don't think he's necessarily a vampire. He seems kind of nice for that. Although the Twilight series that we watched recently makes vampires seem pretty good. I just want to get close to that guy to hit him with my sound wave. And Kazoos. Uh-oh, little Bodazar there. So hanging out with my buddy Joe, so I said to somebody else, Joe looks better than he did in high school. The rest of us look like our teachers. The rest of us look like, we're all in our 40s now, and we look like the teachers we had in high school. Whereas Joe looks like a younger version of Joe from high school. It's clean living, yo. So I don't know if anybody's had that recent experience of, you look at pictures of people in high school. That's what Facebook gives us, this great gift, where I see all my classmates from high school, and I'm like, man, they look old. And my second thought is, oh no, that means I look also old. So that's just real talk. Whoop. But God willing, oldness happens to us all. What? Second place. Unacceptable. There we go. That's more like it. Oh, Bowser Fist. Coin. Gonna drift into this corner. Get a little power up. Rise above the lava. Throw the coin. Shell behind me. Oh man, you and your ink blot. No! Second. And Alika first. Coming into the end. Sorry, I'm a little bit competitive. Triggers and Viv is here. Good to see you. Hi, Triggers and Viv. Toda for the reminder. I feel the same way. Let's see. Speaker AJ said, let's see. Barhu and all other forms of Kaddish are the only thing that I can think of off the top of my head. So I missed a little bit of the chat here. Let's see what's going on. What daily prayers should not be said without a minion? I love it when like people ask questions and other people answer these questions. It's not that I'm lazy, although I am incredibly lazy. But I'm always happy to see like when people ask questions and other people in the chat answer those questions. So this is a learning community. So what prayers should not be said without a minion? Let's see. Speaker AJ says definitely for me too. Actually went to KG Wilcox answer or Speaker AJ answers KG Wilcox and says the Barhu and all forms of Kaddish are the only ones that I can think of off the top of my head. That is that's pretty comprehensive. So you shouldn't say the Barhu. Let's say if you're in a prayer service and there's no minion, what you do, and it's the time for the Barhu, you skip the Barhu and you go straight to Yotzer Or, which is the blessing immediately following the Barhu. So if you got 9 people in the room or fewer, I almost said less, my wife would correct me. She hates going to the grocery store and saying, it says 12 items or less. And she's like, no, 12 items or fewer. She doesn't have that voice. That's just me. So if there's no minion, you skip the Barhu and you go to Yotzer Or, which is the blessing right after that. We don't do the Kaddish. We'll skip the Gedusha, which is related to that. There's also, we don't do Torah reading. If let's say it's a Saturday morning service, we'll usually skip the Torah reading if there's no minion. Just trying to think what else. It's mostly Kaddish and Kedusha and things like that. You might not have a repetition of the Amidah. You'll still have a moment to pray the Amidah, but we don't do a repetition of the Amidah, which contains the Kedusha without having a minion present. So, excellent question. But you can always let's see. Speaker AJ says there are other subtle changes like adding Kel Melech Ne'eman. Dude, you have been learning. So Kel Melech Ne'eman for the Shema and saying Ani Hashem Elokeichem instead of Hashem Elokeichem Emet after the V'ahavta. You are on top of stuff. I'm really glad you're here to answer these questions. Like you're learning stuff that I'm forgetting about. So Triggers and Div is in the house. Shabbat Shalom. Better late than never. Never a truer word said. So glad to see all of you here. Triggers and says Todah for the reminder. Feel the same way, Rabbi. Viv and I have birthdays next month. Ugh, 45 makes my stomach hurt. So I just turned 44. Not to brag, but I know what you're talking about. And again, I'm hanging out with this guy that we were friends in high school. We remain friends. We'll come out of connection, get back into connection. And just like start talking. And like we were talking about high school last night. We were talking about like this girl that stood me up for prom. like I should be over it by now, but I remember. So it's okay. I've had a good life despite that. And talking about high school reunions, like he and I saw each other at the 10-year. I didn't go back for the 20 or the 25. He did. I've just been just way too busy, but the 30th is coming up. Just about 4 more years until the 30th high school reunion. And then I remember going to the 10-year and looking at all these older people like, man, those guys are old. And next time I'll be the old guy at the 30-year reunion. So what are you going to do? Thank God we have the opportunity to age. Some people don't. Beats dying, I'll say. Let's see. Your Malowitz is here. Well, true. I tend to believe the best is just about to come. That's a great attitude. KG Wilcox. Someone once saw an old picture of me, looked at me and said, I had aged badly. No, that's really sad. I'm so sorry that happened to you. Speaker AJ said, I usually don't have an issue with saying the word Kel and Elohim substitute. I just wanted to be safe and not alienate anyone here who might be more traditional. What Speaker AJ is doing is there are some words when we talk about the name for God, the name of God, we substitute Kel or Elohim when talking about it and not praying about it. So I'm often less careful about that in teaching brachot and things, just because I want people to learn the right words for brachas. But it is a Jewish custom. It's like using the word Hashem for God, and Hashem just means the name. We're very careful about taking the name of God in vain, and so we make certain substitutions. And so I'm really impressed that that's already a part of your natural vocabulary. All right, let's see. Kay Dixie says, Speaker AJ ever thought about tutoring Hebrew? That'd be great. So we got one more race to go. So if you're just joining us, this is the Jew Curious show where people who are curious about Judaism can ask whatever questions you like. I hope we've evinced that so far. Kay Dixie says, my driver's license makes me look 150 years old. Sometimes we're just talking about life. But as Rabbi Irving Yitz Greenberg says, Judaism isn't about making you a better Jew. Judaism is there to make you a better human. And so whatever problems you have as a human being, there are Jewish conversations to be had about that. Aging, for one. Learning to age gracefully. Learning to accept that we have human bodies. One of my greatest teachers of Talmud, Rabbi Pat Fenton, I don't know if she wants to be talking about this, but she always taught us to be humble and gracious about having human bodies. And here's how she did it. Whenever anyone would, let's say, pass gas in class, it's a Talmud class, it's a small group of people, 11, 12, 13 people there, and every once in a while, especially if we're having class after lunch, someone would have a bubble, like someone would have some gas come out the top or out the bottom, and she was super gracious about it. Like, whenever that happened, she's like, thank God we have human bodies that work appropriately. And that was a lesson in itself for me, is her talking about our humanity. Oh, I hit the blue shell even though I wasn't first. So that includes things like aging. First place. Oh. Boosh. Skadoosh. And a 3. And a 4. Oh. Bullet Bill. Alright, last round. Last lap. Hot on my tail. Got some things going in the chat. I can see it, but I can't read it right now. I maintain my lead. And snap. Put a bomb behind me. Throw that coin. Get the speed up. Whoop. That speed. That speed. That shell. That ink coming on me. Can't see a thing. If you ain't got that swing. Alright, like my chances. No! No, 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 no! No, no, no! Oh! Second place by a hair. Alright, Lee Tai Ryu says, speaking of Hebrew, do you have any recommendations for books on learning Hebrew? I can sometimes kind of pronounce written Hebrew, but I love to be able to understand what I'm reading better. So I'll say there's sort of and I'll just speak for myself, there's sort of layers of learning Hebrew. First is the decoding, and that is being able to sound the words out. My favorite book for that is called Aleph Isn't Tough, and it's put up by URJ Press. It's called Aleph Isn't Tough, and that's a great book for not comprehension, but for decoding, being able to make the sounds, like learn how this, learn what sounds the letters make and be able to pronounce those sounds. Aleph Isn't Tough is my favorite book for that. Comprehension, there's a couple of different routes I would suggest. The book that, at least when I was learning Hebrew, when I started learning Hebrew for comprehension before rabbinical school, the series is called Hebrew from Scratch. And the first book is a good book in that. It teaches you how to make the cursive letters and things like that. That's sort of the go-to, or was at least 10 years ago, the go-to college textbook for Hebrew. It's called Hebrew from Scratch, and it's something else in Hebrew. But just go to Amazon, type in Hebrew from Scratch, and that'll get you started on the basics of modern Hebrew vocabulary and comprehension. Another great tool is... what is that? Now I can't think of it. Let me look it up on my phone. There's an app for learning languages. Duolingo. I was thinking that thing with the owl. It's not Hootsuite. It's like the thing with the owl. Duolingo's Hebrew program is pretty dope, I will say, as far as learning new vocabulary. It is focused on modern spoken Hebrew. It's more like, forks and knives and where's the bathroom and things like that, like practical, what do I need to know to have a conversation or to understand what's going on if I visit Israel. That's more the focus for Duolingo. When it comes to comprehension of classical Hebrew, biblical Hebrew, Mishnah era Hebrew, the best way is just to study. The best way is just to, start with Masechet Brachot. You'll learn a lot of, which is sort of written in a simpler Hebrew, but also in kind of legalese and rabbinic jargon. So that's my advice. If you're looking for decoding, go with Aleph Isn't Tough, is a good book. And if you're looking for more comprehension beyond that, because you got to learn to decode first. After that, I would go to the Hebrew from Scratch series of textbooks. If you're better with apps than books, I'll say, Duolingo is really good for that. And then there's, Pimsleur, other things like that are more for spoken and Hebrew. But those are the sources that I use to learn. So I recommend that. Yermolovitz says, but Duolingo is a bit limited to expand vocabulary. I'd recommend Drops app. I hadn't heard about that before, but I like that. There's also an online Hebrew dictionary called, I think it's called Morphix. I'm just looking it up on my phone. If I'm looking for modern vocabulary that I'm less familiar with. Where is it? It's an app on my phone somewhere. I'm not seeing it, although I was using it just the other day. Oh, Morphix. Yeah, Morphix is a great app for just like a modern Hebrew to English dictionary, but it also includes entries for more biblical or rabbinic sources as well. So KG Wilcox says, I like Hebrew Pod too. So thanks for all the answers. I'll give them a check. So Hebrew Pod 101. I'll have to look that up. I'm not familiar, but I like it. I also just started with Mundley. They're having a special right now. Okay, cool. So a lot of great Hebrew learning resources here. So how did I do? View results. And woohoo! I feel good about this. I think I'm going to come in first place. Let's see. Woolen Bullet is here, sharing a resource. Highlights reel. All right, I need to see that. I know what I did. All right, got the cup. First place by a good margin. I've collected 300 coins. New vehicle customization. So it is 10:16. We've been going for about an hour or so right now. Maybe we'll play another Grand Prix a little bit more quickly. I've got an appointment at 11, so glad to be here with you all. How do you spell Morphix? It would be M-O-R. I think it's spelled M-O-R-F-I-X. Yeah, I mean, in Hebrew, it's Mem, Vav, Resh, Fe, Yud, Kuf, Samech. But if you're looking it up in the App Store, I would type in Morfix, and that'll give you a nice downloadable Hebrew English dictionary. You just type in an English word, and it'll give you a Hebrew one. But you might have to, if you're looking up a Hebrew word, you might have to, on your phone, download the Hebrew typewriter. So that works differently. I won't tell you how to do it. That works differently on different phones. But I've got the Hebrew keyboard that I can switch back and forth to in my phone, and type things in. So then you can take a word and type it in, and it'll tell you what the English definition of that word is. All right, single player Grand Prix. Let's go 150. Let's see, make it interesting. So I came in first, I think, on most races there. Ooh, a bike. New bike. Take advantage of that. Let's see, off-road, slim. Huh. Let's try that. And there. I like the Excite bike. Alright, I like this one. Let's give it a try. Triggers and Div says you'll need that keyboard for Duolingo as well. KG Wilcox says I have the swipe keyboard that includes Hebrew and Russian. Nice. So thank you everybody for being here with me today. This has been, I like to say it's been a hectic week, but every week turns out to be a hectic week lately. Just the luck of the draw. We had some very impactful funerals in the community that I'm in Pasadena. I had the flu a couple of weeks ago, which kind of set everything back. But I'm glad just to hang out with y'all. Lately, we've had in the Jew Curious School, we've had the Hanukkah class, but I've been a little bit slow to upload the recordings of that. But we're going to fix that today. So we've now completed all 4 lessons of the Hanukkah class. I think lesson 1 is up and recording, but 2 through 4 haven't been. So we're going to fix that today. I forgot I'm playing 150. These guys are a little bit more hardcore here. That's why I'm 6th, maybe. Whoop. Whoop. Man, I am stinking it up here. 5th place. Unfamiliar territory. He said braggingly. Sixth place. What is going on? Fourth place. I gotta stop drifting so much. Oh, he took the double. 7th. Take some cleansing breaths. Cutting some corners here. It's slowing me down or speeding me up. I can't tell. Third. Nope, 5th. Last round. Gotta catch up. You got John. This is not going to be a good Grand Prix for me, I could tell. Oh, he had original on him. Whew, this is going to be a hard one. Oh, I was rocketing ahead, then rocketing behind. No, 7th place. Yoshi's Island is always hard because, as you can see, it's actually in the shape of Yoshi. I never noticed that before. All those hard turns. Triggers and Viv says, my heart is totally bursting with the newfound support of my family and friends in reference to my celebrating Hanukkah. That is really cool. Thank you for sharing that with us. Oh, man, I'm so glad to hear that. Your Malowitz says, for Duolingo, best experience is to use the iPad or phone. However, it's useful to review the new lessons on a regular computer, a lot of notes and lessons and things like that. Yeah, that's great advice. So appreciate that, and also appreciate Triggers and Viv sharing this new Hanukkah experience. That's amazing. I know it's not always easy to come by, but I'm really glad to hear that. Triggers and Viv says, Hot Pretzel Rock's song name is cracking me up. What's the latest song name? I missed it. In the Bed of Blue-Eyed Girl by James Flamestar. Nice. Speaker AJ says, I'm happy for you. My family has been super supportive, like way more than I could have asked for, and I'm so grateful for that. That said, I can tell there's a lot they don't understand. Like, some in my family still insist on doing Christmas presents this year, and I'm happy to do presents, but they're not really Christmas presents for me. So, oh, I missed the beginning of that race. And it's Excite Bike. I love Excite Bike. 12th place. Oh, shelled. Oh, come on. I had bananas going around me. Can't hit me with the red shell then. Oh, lightning right after I got the bonuses here. First place, though. That's a new place for me. No, you didn't either. Coin banana. Yep, coin banana called it. Throw that back there. Alaka jump. And finished. Alright, what's going on here? I agree. I've just come to the realization that as hard as it is for my family to carry on their traditions is as important to me as my new ones. Okay, that's a really wise insight. I want to say, Lee Tai Ryu says, I have a friend who somehow always ends up in 7th place in every cup he does in this game. Cracks me up. Just lucky number 7, I guess. It's a good number. It's a good Jewish number. The number 7 appears a lot, especially in wedding ceremonies and Shabbat. It's a number that means completeness and wholeness, which is related to shalem or shalom. The Jewish word for peace is also related to wholeness or the number 7. So it's not a bad place to be. I just would rather be first. I'm sorry, that's my competitive nature. Let's see. Kay Dixie says, Rabbi once told us that it's okay to help others to celebrate their religion, so gracefully accepting Christmas gifts is a bit like that. I talk to a lot of families, I'll say, who, have, they're Jewish, they want to raise their kids as Jews, and they've got grandparents who do Christmas and what to do about that. And I always say that, like, you should, make sure you know who you are. Make sure your kids, if you have kids, know who they are. And if you're secure in that, then it's not terrible to be with family when they're celebrating their holidays. In fact, Kibud Av V'Em, honoring your parents, it's in the top 10. It's in the first the 10 commandments includes honoring your parents. Do you have to worship what they worship if you are Jewish and they're not? Not necessarily, but it doesn't mean you have to like avoid them or denigrate them in any way. So I'm a strong believer in hanging out with your family who are doing a different holiday. Just if you're secure that it's not your holiday, but you like being with them and celebrating with them, I don't think that's a bad thing. In fact, you could be honoring the 10 Commandments of Kibud Av V'Em, depending on who you're with there. Well, come on. And I did have to, I was talking to my daughter recently, and she's like, oh, Christmas is coming. And every year around Christmas time, they go visit their grandparents in Wisconsin, and their grandparents celebrate Christmas. And my daughter gets into this. She's like, oh, because she gets presents and stockings and all sorts of stuff. And we were talking, it's like, that's Christmas is their holiday. It's a holiday that's important to them. And it's cool that you're with them. It's not necessarily our holiday. And that's a fine distinction for a 7-year-old to make is, it's their holiday, not my holiday, but can I celebrate it all the same? And it's part of growing up Jewish is that negotiation, especially if you're like most Jews for most of history in places where Jews are the minority. How do you cope with that? And it's not an un-Jewish way to live, but it is figuring out those boundaries, figuring out what's appropriate for you, figuring out where you can celebrate with other people without crossing any kind of lines for your own identity or belief. Come on, very close. Third. Ghosted. Fourth. Oh, man. I'm rethinking this 150cc thing. Oh, well. Triggers Aviv says, the fact that Hanukkah is falling during Christmas, best of both worlds for some, lol. I was thinking the other day, Hanukkah a few years ago, I saw one of these Facebook reminders 6 years ago that it was Thanksgivica. It was Hanukkah coinciding with Thanksgiving. Let's see. I do Xmas at my mom's house and also light my menorah there. Triggers Aviv, that's a good way of looking at it. I'm a little concerned that one day when I have kids, God willing, how that will play out. I don't really want to do Christmas with them, but that makes sense. So a lot of great advice and experience being shared here. Look at it as a learning tool for your kids for both holidays, all right? Love hanging with my family and no intention of doing otherwise, just to be clear. Yeah, so it's okay to hang with your family, and sometimes that takes a delicate conversation. If, in America and perhaps North America, I'm not a Canadian, so I don't know, but in America, sometimes that's a delicate negotiation of, is Christmas is it felt as a secular social holiday versus an explicitly Christian holiday? it's and interfaith families deal with this. Like, how do you celebrate with family members without instilling necessarily a Christian theology in your kids? And it's just having those kind of conversations with your family, like, this is how I'm raising my kid, and I hope you'll be respectful of that. And 9 times out of 10, families are. Sometimes they're not, and sometimes that gets a little delicate as well. But if you say to your in-laws or your parents, like, we're happy to spend the holidays with you. It's time we have off work. It's time that we get together. That's important to you. And we're happy to do that. Just understand that it's not time to, like, recruit my kids or recruit my spouse or recruit whoever. And then I think with that understanding, and sometimes you don't have to have that conversation. Sometimes it just kind of goes without saying. But when it does, like, it's nice to be upfront about that stuff. And hopefully, for the most part, families are respectful of that. You never know. Different families are different. He said tautologically. Missing all the power-ups. Let's do the boomerangs. First place. Gotta hold on to that as long as I can. Come on, missing all the speed ups. Not a good course for drifting. Ink face. Lightning right after that. Okay. Serpentine. Coin banana. Just guessing. Oh, bananas. Banana ring. Head of the pack. Come on, stand first. No, what? No, how did you get in first place? Not happening. And swoosh. You can hit me with a blue shell all you want now. Woo! Let's see what's going on here. Triggers live in Eastern Poland and Western Ukraine. They celebrate Christmas twice, Catholic and Orthodox. I heard somebody was telling me about St. Nick's Day. I think December 6th was St. Nick's Day, which may be today. It is today. St. Nick's Day is, if it's December 6th, that's today. So some people celebrate that. Now, not that I can think of it, Hanukkah is always in Kislev, which roughly equates to late November, early December. It was supposed to, I think, originally be somewhat associated with equinox, although that not equinox, solstice, winter solstice. As K. Dixie says, Jesus was totally Jewish. Yes, he was, but not every. It's a fine line. It's like Jesus was born a Jewish guy. Following Jesus, though, doesn't make you Jewish necessarily. Triggers and Div says, I have a lot of customers so confused as what to call my holiday bonus. It's kind of amusing, actually, of course. All right. Second place overall, it looks like. Viewers, so that's all the races. We're going to wrap it up here in a second because somebody I need to talk to at 11 o'clock, very important to me, so we might wrap this up. Any questions you have about Hanukkah coming up, we'll be here next week as well. Fun Friday, every Friday, unless otherwise notified. There will be actually maybe the Friday after that. Next week we're cool, so let's see. Today is the 6th, which means next week is the 13th. We will be here for Fun Friday. The Friday after that, not so much. That Friday of the, I don't know, what is that? The 8th, it's whatever, 13th, the 20th won't be here. 20th, I am traveling to New York City to go to Joey Weissenberg's conference. It's the Machon Hadar's Rising Song Intensive. So there's going to be a week that I'm in New York. So next week is Fun Friday. The week after that, no fun. No fun Friday anyway. I'm going to be traveling. I'll be on the road visiting one of my classmates from rabbinical school, Rabbi Howard in New Jersey, and then spending the week after that in New York. So stay tuned for different changes, but for the most part, we're here every Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. And if you've been in the Jew Curious School, you've been wondering, hey, where are the recordings of all the Hanukkah lessons? They're coming up today, a little bit behind on posting the recordings of those things. If you're not in the Jew Curious School, check it out. It might be for you. There's a link on this page somewhere, maybe jewcurious.school/info. It's a place where we get together, and every week we have a discussion of the weekly Torah portion. We often have another class going on. There's like 100 or more different lessons in there at this point, so check that out, plus a great community of people who talk to each other. It's great to see here Triggers and Viv, much love to you all from the bottom of my heart. Kay Dixie says, you and Viv are so sweet. True that. So really happy to have everybody here, happy to learn with you. Thank you for asking some great questions today and for hanging out with me while I play video games. So with that, heroes, I'm going to wish you a Shabbat Shalom, and until next time, peace.